Welcome back to New York Comic Con, brought to you by Fandom and Twitch. John Connor's here.
I'm here.
With me to talk. Oh, some cool stuff, actually. So Ben, Dave, glad to have you guys here.
Pleasure.
Talking about Madefire, and you guys announced, was it like today or
it
recently?
Was
today,
literally
right?
last night.
Last
we
night.
were saying us today just to make it more dramatic.
There we go. Today, guys.
Today.
So before we continue, so a VR version of Madefire. What is Madefire initially? It's a comic book reading, a book reading app, right?
That's right. All about storytelling and in particular comics, and very much words and pictures coming to life. iPad, iPhone, all those platforms. So lots to say about that. But the move to VR is really making. It's really taking something we've been doing on rectangles and putting it right up here. It's been a mad process. We're sort of 5 years into this, and it's a big day for us.
Wow,
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that. So, like, for your creation, Watchmen, one of my first versions I actually read of it was was an animated kind of version of it. Like, I forgot who published it exactly, but it was absolutely beautiful. It was really immersive, and it was really cool. It was like somewhere between like watching a movie and reading the comic book. It was a really cool experience. The sound and the motion.
Yeah, those were the really early days, and there was something experimental about that. And it didn't completely work, but there was enough in there to make me think there's something worth exploring. And I think with the Madefire app, they've sorted out all the things that might have been wrong. And with the VR version of it, I've often dreamt of stepping into a comic. It is like stepping into a comic.
Very cool. So you guys have to describe this to me. So like what is the difference between like seeing like an animated movie in front of you versus using the Madefire app in VR to like be immersed in these like comic experiences?
A bit of the video hopefully showed it. It's hard because you're trying to convey something here.
Right.
But the way we've looked at storytelling is comics are words and pictures. Everything that we have on Madefire is about layering up the story, giving a sense of depth and motion and sound. And so when it comes up here, we've been able to add a Z depth, a Z depth, as they say in America. And so that gives a real sense of being able to, move towards it and be immersed in it. It can come right up to you, lettering's towards you, even over you. And you're also surrounded in a panorama, which it sets a real establishing shot that kind of sets the mood for the story as you're reading. But we actually have developed it so that the reading experience stays in front of you.
Right.
You don't need to follow it everywhere. But you feel like you're in a world because you're surrounded.
And I think the other interesting thing about a reading experience is you move through it at your own speed rather than watching a movie where it flashes by you.
Right. So you're going at your own pace. You're able to kind of appreciate all the art around you, the experience.
Yep.
And how does it work with the audio exactly? Like, I'm assuming there's no kind of like narration. You're still reading the like what's going on, but like there's like sound effects and there's like.
Yeah, exactly. We want it to be a great book rather than a bad video.
Right.
So it's all about being in control of the speed, and then the sound is about sound effects. Weather, wind, footsteps, music for mood, but not voiceover. So we wanted to keep it reading because reading's magical. It means that you're co-imagining what's happening with the reader.
Right.
You don't have to answer every move and every jump and everything. So it's not full animation. It's more of a moving storyboard. Yeah.
Very cool. And now I just assume that like doing this, like taking an existing comic book and making it into this this medium is like a really like intensive thing, right? Like what is that like for you guys? And especially now, I'm sure you have a bunch of comics already ready to go.
Well, it's much more intensive to take something that has already been a comic book and kind of chop it up and put it on layers.
Right.
So the best way to work is to work on layers. Yeah. And a lot of people, even when they draw regular comic books on their computer file, will have layers.
Right.
And if you import those into the Madefire app, you've immediately got your iPad experience, and actually the same assets, the same artwork works in the VR as well.
Yeah. That's cool.
That is very cool. So, and I imagine it's only like part of the battle, right? Because you also have the audio that's used, and who makes those calls? Like, who's deciding like what the tone is set, what kind of like music or sound effects are used, like.
Always, ideally, the creator, whoever that is, or a writer, an artist talking about it.
Right.
The tools are very easy to use, so they're about scaling, panning, fading, dissolving. If you've ever built a presentation with a few transitions, it's a bit like that.
Right.
So it's not about full 3D or full animation. It's really about. Actually, Dave said this. I hate quoting Dave because he's so prolific.
This is the good stuff.
So prolific. Dave Gibbons said, it's about being a cameraman rather than a puppeteer.
Right.
So leading the eye and allowing the focus to move. So we find the feedback from writers is, wow, this is actually freedom, because I can punctuate things in a different way. I don't have to rely on a page turn for a surprise or something like that. So it is a freedom. It's more work, but it gives a lot more dimension to the story.
That's really interesting. So, like, even if I've already read, like, a comic book, viewing it like this is like a completely different experience potentially. I could notice things I haven't noticed before. It'd be like a different kind of like journey going through a story.
Sure. I mean, the other thing I particularly like about what we're doing is, when I got into comics, all I needed to get in there was a piece of paper and a pen,
right,
and of course some talent,
right.
And because and because we give away the tool that you make motion books with, anybody can get in on it. You don't have to buy expensive software.
Oh, really?
So anybody in this room can publish their own Madefire motion book, and will be able to publish their own Madefire VR.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. That's actually really cool. And that opens up for a lot of creators to kind of do something like absolutely new and create this new experience, right?
Yes. I mean, we've been out in market for 4 or 5 years where you can now publish to television with Apple TV and Android TV, which looks pretty amazing, just seeing the art that big. iPad, iPhone, Android, Windows, web. Now we've added VR. We're in a private beta with the VR aspect of it, but it's the same, as Dave said, it's the same assets. So
right.
you're mastering for a VR experience, but it also works TV, browser, so on. So it's one book that works cross-platform. And we've always been all about creator. So like the tool's free. And if you put your book out for free, we don't see any revenue. But if you
very cool.
put it out for $1, we do a 70-30 share with you as a creator. So
right.
We're pretty much backed by WordPress, and we think of it as an image press, like a visual publishing tool. Yeah.
Very cool.
So it's good.
And the tech that this works on right now is the Oculus Samsung VR. Like I think you
exactly.
have like
this guy here. Yep, this guy. So Oculus Gear VR. It's live in the store right now. This is. If any of you don't know about how this works, this is just a Samsung phone, and then the phone goes into this, which is really just a couple of lenses and a piece of plastic.
Right.
And then you've got a stereo image which looks like 3D. So I could put this guy, if I get it the right way around, in here. It's impossible to show you this now.
Oh, sure, yeah, you will have to experience it for
I can look
yourself.
stupid for you if you like.
No, I believe you. But what I like about those
are
that, these are just super accessible, right? You already have like a Samsung phone. You just get like the thing over here, and it's like, it's like pretty inexpensive, and bam, you can do like VR experiences like this.
Absolutely.
Which is neat. So now, what kind of comics do you guys like support off the bat? Like what's in the library or like right now?
Okay, so Madefire as a whole has about 25,000 books on it.
Wow.
Which is great.
25,000.
Yeah, that sounds like a few.
All drawn, all written and drawn by Dave Gibbons.
Oh, wow, you've been busy. I didn't know you did 25,000 issues,
I'm
man.
just very prolific.
Busy guy.
I'm dishonest.
We're looking to add some other authors and write. No. So there's like 40 publishers, and there's indie, and there's, so there's everything from, we had 2 Polish girls do a comic, Anna and Kate. It went to 1 million reads.
Oh, wow.
Which more than Dave's book has had yet, but it's fine.
Wow.
And, no, I'm just...
Fighting words
Dave.
right there. Ouch. Wow.
Why did you bring that up?
Okay. It's fine. We'll get there, Dave. We'll get there. Keep
thanks.
doing stages like this.
Thanks, yeah.
And then, but that right now in the store here today, there's like a dozen things that we've dialed in for the VR experience. So there's DC, there's IDW and Hasbro, there's Planet of the Apes from 20th Century Fox, there's some of our originals, treatment from Dave, mono that I draw. We're going to try and keep up with this lot.
Wow.
And it's a fun thing. But by Christmas, our goal is to have everything in the VR experience. So you're looking at tens of thousands of books.
That's pretty amazing, and also very ambitious. I mean, especially since you're trying to make it also work in not only VR but also on your Apple TV and all these other platforms. Like at the same time, there's no confusion of whether it'll work on X and not on Y, etc.
Well, the way we've mastered the book so far was with this in mind. So like every time we've scanned a book in, or every time a file's come in, it's a high-res file, and that file basically gets, without getting too boring about the tech, it kind of compresses it down depending what kind of device you're on.
Right.
And so these books are high-res in layers with sound and motion already. So it's about adding the Z depth, which is pretty good.
That's
easy
very
to do.
Yeah, very cool. So I have to assume when you're approaching a publisher about this new tech, and you've already done this, what is the comic you show them? What's the experience you kind of demo to them? Like, check this out. Like, this will sell you on this experience. This could be you guys. Like, what is the comic you show them? Out of curiosity.
It's one of the things that is why we've done a whole raft of original material.
Right.
Because we can develop material with Dave or Mike Carey or Brian Wood and different people, established and new. It allows us to run forward into things like panoramas or whatever we might be trying, different languages. So we've actually been showing, for example, DC and IDW to say, hey, this is what's possible. We've been showing some of our originals, Madefire originals, Dave's treatment, Mono, Captain Stone, some of the things that, because we've drawn them with a view to where our tech's going.
Right.
Yeah, and that's been great. I've been, for example, IDW have just been amazing. They're so forward about all of this. Just
Right, right.
Great.
So the experience. So I have this on right now, and I'm ready. Like I'm checking it out, and I'm enjoying. Read the page. How do I get to like the next page? Is there like do I like just like tap on the side? I think it was, or like how does that kind of work?
Yeah, you got it. So the focus is above here. This wheel just sets your focus. And then on the right-hand side, you've got this cross.
Right.
It's a tap like that. So
the
you're
tap
turning.
Next page.
Next page is it, exactly. Volumes here. And I think Oculus, because Oculus is doing a load of announcements as we speak over on the West Coast, and I think they've now brought a small handheld clicker, which is a really natural thing. And we're on Apple TV with a device like that, and you can just swipe with your thumb to read.
That's pretty cool. I don't know how John feels, but I can see myself like, on the plane, kind of chilling, kind of going through like an entire series, just like, clicking away, like, just enjoying like, comic book experience. Because I know
flying through space with that thing on your head.
There we go.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
Is it still a comic book when it goes into VR? How do you guys feel about that?
I think it arguably is a comic book. In fact, when we gave our presentation, the first thing they asked me was, what is a comic?
Right.
And basically, it's telling a story in words and pictures. And that applies to lots of things, but a comic is different because it's very direct. If you want to make a movie, you've got to have producers, you've got to have directors, you've got to have cameramen, blah, blah, blah. With a comic, I draw it, you look at it, that's it. It's a complete circuit. So to me, it has all that immediacy of a comic book. It also has a very clear artistic vision. It can be kind of realistic superhero artwork. It can be quite abstract artwork. It can be funny artwork. So you've got that range of looks that you've got in a comic book. But let's just put it another way. To me, the best comic book artists are the ones who don't depict reality, but they depict their own version of reality very consistently. People like Jack Kirby, Steve Ditko, completely unrealistic, but you buy their world. And I think that's what happens when you look at comics on Madefire.
Wow. No, well said.
And to see the art so big, because equivalently, we adore comics, but the art, there's so much work put into something that might be an inch or two in size.
Right.
And to be able to see that equivalently as a billboard.
Oh, sure.
And there's so much more work put into it than you can appreciate at that size. So it's great to just see the art big. And we had someone who just stopped reading and said, I just want to hang out for a bit, because there's just this art in front of you. It's like a gallery. No,
that's such a great point. Like, I read on my iPad mostly when I'm traveling. And, I even have it this side, that size. Like, I'm missing, like, so much of the detail that goes into it.
Yeah.
But very cool. So, dudes, like, thank you much for sharing it. Like, where do people go to actually dive into, like, some Madefire VR? Like, what's the steps to take?
So there's a store on Oculus Gear VR. So you go on there and just download the app. It's free. All the books that are available today are free because all the publishers just want people to find and experiences. The app is also on iOS, Android, like the normal app with motion books and everything.
Right.
iOS, Android, Windows, Apple TV, Yeah.
And at this show, if you go to booth 866, that's where we are, and you can have a demonstration yourself.
That way, by Rooster Teeth, just behind there, we have 4 pods set up. Lots of people trying VR comics. Yeah.
Cool. They just go try it out right now. That's awesome.
866. Head to 866. I'll see you there.
And I'll see you there too.
All right. Awesome, guys.